gentlemen, please welcome the owner of Treasure Island, Mr. Phil Ruffin.
I'm happy you all came to see me. I've never had this many people before. Donald, been a good friend of mine for a lot of years. We decided to build the Trump Tower, as you know, over there. And Donald was in complete charge. He built it under budget and on time, and it's beautiful. He's an amazing man. He's an amazing man. We had 1,283 rooms. We sold out in 90 days, all condominiums. And then that was in 2007, and then the recession hit. None of the people could close. We had only 300 close, so we were left with 1,000 rooms empty. Because people could, if you remember, they couldn't get mortgages. So Donald calls up and says, that's okay, we'll run it as a hotel. All right, but that recession lasted a little bit longer than we thought. Donald is a brilliant man. He called me and said, you know, this 6% interest is too high. I'm going to renegotiate it. Good luck, Donald. So I did. He said, now what you have to do, we're going to skip 2 payments. I said, what? Yeah, we're going to skip a couple of payments. And so, all right. I said, but only if we put the money in escrow. So, oh, by the way, when it was losing about $8 million a year. I was putting in $4 million a year. He was putting in $4 million a year. And I never heard a word from him. Didn't squawk, you know, just. So I get this call. He says, I have just reduced the payment down from 6% down to 3.5%. And guess what? I just sold $100 million worth of condos to Hilton Timeshare. What I am telling you, this man is the greatest negotiator you'll ever find. Got to tell you a story. He may get mad at me for this. He had a yacht. He bought a yacht from Khashoggi. Donald's not a yacht guy, but he bought the yacht anyway. So he didn't want it anymore. So he has this meeting with the banks, and the banks were get tough. You know, we want our money, da-da-da. Donald reached in his pocket, threw some keys out on the desk. He said, there you have it, boys. It's all yours. They said, oh, wait a minute, Donald. Then they started negotiating. Then when he got on the elevator, he said, that was my car keys. How dumb can those guys be? Thought I had the yacht keys in my pocket. Anyway, he's a hell of a guy. I just love him. He's honest. Now listen to this. You'll never hear this on TV.
Cause you're only a man, and a man's got to learn to take it. Try to believe, though the going gets rough, that you gotta hang tough to make it. History repeats itself, try and you succeed. Never doubt that you're the one, and you can have your dream. You're the best around.
finish telling my story. Donald, you won't hear this on the media, but Donald gave, excuse me. Have you? Donald gave $20 million to the St. Jude Children's Home. $20 million. He could have used that $20 million for television ads, but he decided to give to children with cancer. So that's Donald Trump. By the way, Donald hired more Hispanics, hundreds of thousands of them, and they all love him. Believe me. Donald, take over.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. What a great group. You know, they have hundreds and hundreds of people standing outside. They can't get in. They didn't get the good real estate. You got the good real estate. I feel badly. I feel badly. So Phil Ruffin, you know, Phil owns this hotel. And he's been a friend of mine, and we did deals together. We had a great success at Trump International Hotel together. I hope you all know that hotel. Most beautiful building in Las Vegas, I have to say. But it's a great thing to be involved with somebody that is so talented, so smart, such a great business person as Phil Ruffin, believe me. And he's a great poker player. You know, I always put my money on him in a game of poker, and he just walks away very quietly, just takes everybody's money and goes on to the next one, right? That's what we want. So I want to just thank you. I love you too. I love you too. I want to just start by saying, you know, Kevin McCarthy is out. You know that, right? And they're giving me a lot of credit for that because I said you really need somebody very, very tough and very smart. You know, smart goes with tough, not just tough. I know tough people, they're not smart. That's the worst, okay? That's the worst. You got to be smart. But we need smart, we need tough, we need the whole package. And it's a positive, you know, like me, thank you. I like that. I like this guy over here, whoever he is. But it's bedlam in Washington right now. Bedlam. It's a mess. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. I've always been in politics. People said, well, he's, you know, for 3 months I've been a politician, though. Can you believe it? It's so embarrassing. I'm a politician. I never wanted to be a politician. But at some point I said, we're going to make our country great again. I mean, we're going to do it. So, had to do it. But Kevin is a nice guy, and I just hope now that they find somebody that's going to be, you know, have those qualities where we can negotiate, where we can use that debt ceiling that's coming up very rapidly and do something really, really significant. Because if we don't, we're going to be in very big trouble. We're going to be in very, very big trouble. We're in a big, fat, beautiful bubble right now, and you watch, and I predicted the last couple, and I'm telling you, we've got to get our act together or we're going to be Greece on steroids. That's what's going to happen. No, that's what's going to happen. And there's nothing wrong with the Republicans taking a tough stance and sticking with it. You know, I wrote The Art of the Deal. And The Art of the Deal is, I think, the biggest selling business book of all time. Yeah, look, it's all over the place. Who doesn't have The Art of the Deal? By the way, I'm coming out with a new one about 3 weeks. You know what it's called? Crippled America. Can you believe? What a difference. What a difference in... One's The Art of the Deal, everything rosy, let's go, make money, everybody good. And that was a long time ago. Now I'm doing one called Crippled America, and as much as I hate to call it that, we had all these titles, and it sort of happened by mistake. We had a photographer. It's a great book publishing company, Simon & Schuster, the best, Rolls-Royce. Or Cadillac? Maybe I should say Cadillac, right? Cadillac? We want to keep it here. We want to keep it here. But you know, the really great company, and they sent this fantastic photographer, very talented guy, and he took pictures. And I'm smiling. You know, like life is a bowl of cherries, like we're doing great. In the meantime, China's taking our jobs. We're losing to ISIS. Russia's dictating to. We don't know what we're doing, right? I mean, is it true? So I have all these pictures, smiling, but I had a couple where I guess I wasn't prepared, and I was nasty looking, nasty. And then I said, maybe we should use that picture instead of the nice pictures. I'm not going to give it to my family or anything, but maybe we should use. So I have the nastiest looking picture, like, because honestly, for a period of time, that's what we've got to do. We've got to put our head down and we've got to straighten out this mess. And nobody can do it like me. Nobody. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly. I will bring our jobs back. You know, it's very interesting. CNN did a good poll, and I'm on live with CNN. Look at all those cameras up there. They're all live. You know, every time they have me on live, all these other guys, they make the same speech over and over and over. They read it, just blah, blah. Nobody. If I say the same thought twice, I get criticized. You said that 3 weeks ago. I mean, how many thoughts can you have? Jobs stink. The military's in trouble. The vets are being taken poorly care of. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to repeal Obamacare. You know, have to. We have to. We have to. We don't have a choice. You know, it's interesting. Look at the response that gets. And sometimes it's not the biggest response. I mean, my stance on immigration is, first of all, I just met with a whole group, the Hispanics. My relation, and what Phil said, I really appreciate. I didn't know he was going to say that. But I've employed thousands and thousands, and currently thousands of Hispanics. These are incredible people. Incredible. My relationship is great. They did a poll, and everybody probably saw the poll. I won with Hispanics in the state of Nevada. You know, they're incredible people. And I think I won for two reasons, but one of them is they know I'm going to bring jobs back to this country. We're going to take our jobs back, and people are going to have jobs. Because this 5.3 and 5.5%, it is nonsense. We have close to 100 million people that are out of the workforce. They're out of the workforce. We have 50 million people that are in poverty. They consider it poverty, like third world, and not even as good as some of the third world nations. Our infrastructure, our airports are worse than third world nations. You fly into LaGuardia, you fly into Kennedy, LAX, you fly into some of these airports, we're like a third world country. And I go and I deal with these people. I get along with everybody, okay? By the way, I do. I do. But I deal. And I don't dislike China. I love China. In fact, they're my tenants in New York. I have the biggest bank in the world as my tenant, Chinese bank, like seriously big. The rent comes in, boom, like clockwork, okay? I don't have to worry. But I have tremendous relationships with Mexico, with China, with everybody. The problem is we're not being led right. When China, Japan, Brazil, I mean, any country, name a country, anybody, name any country, they're taking advantage of us. Any country, France, they're taking advantage of us. You know that, because you know what they're doing with Iran. You see, she says France. You could name any country. Russia, oh, that's a pretty easy one. Russia. That was the one I was hoping we don't have to say too much about Russia. Oh, he's having a field day dealing with our leaders because our leaders are incompetent. They're incompetent. They're incompetent. So we've had an amazing, well, even Israel, if you look at Israel, we're actually taking advantage of Israel, if you think about it. Because what we did with that stupid deal with Iran is the worst thing that has probably happened to Israel. Since the initial Israel, since day one, I would say maybe, potentially the worst thing that's ever happened to Israel. And I have so many Jewish friends where they go, I don't know what happened to Obama. They supported him. And they say, I don't know what happened. And some continue to support him. It's almost like, what are we doing here? They support him. They're having fundraisers for him. But they say, yeah, he's treated us very badly. And then he walks into the room, they give him money. The whole thing is crazy. He has been so bad to Israel. And Bibi is a great guy. I know him. I think, and I thought he made a great speech the other day in the United Nations. You know, I was one of the few people, I think the only, but he asked me to make an ad for him for his campaign. So I was greatly honored. I made an ad, he won, I was happy. I took full credit for it, okay? Full credit. Full credit. But, you know, we have a problem with so many different things, and we'll talk about, I love talking about this, the media. Do we all love the media? Do we love the media? Oh. No, the level of dishonesty is incredible. It's incredible. And you know, I always have to preface, I'll give a quickie, not all of them, because some are fine, but let's end it with that, okay? Some are fine. But the level of honesty in the media, they're so dishonest. You know, I do a crowd, and I'll have like a crowd like this, and like the cameras, they never pan the room. They never ever pan the room. Look, they never pan the room. No, it's true. They don't do it. They don't do it. Pan the room. Go ahead, pan it. But you know, they won't. They won't pan it. I was in Oklahoma the other day. Unbelievable. We had 20,000 people. It's a band shell in this massive park. And there were more than 20,000. I'm saying 20. I'm now going low because if I have two people more, they say, oh, it wasn't. I mean, I had one crowd where a group from Politico, which is totally dishonest, these people, very liberal, totally Politico, they cut numbers down. But Bernie Sanders, and then you look, and I have far more people than him. But, you know, it's important because it shows the dishonesty. But I was in Oklahoma the other day, and we had 20,000 people, at least. We had a band shell that was 5 times the size of this thing. They had a thing in the back, all concrete, you know, a real beautiful band shell, all concrete. You can't see anything. We must have 2,000 to 3,000 people behind the band shell. I was saying, they can't see anything because it's a stage with this massive wall behind me. But they couldn't fit them into a park. So we had much more than 20, but I say 20. I've actually become very conservative because this way I don't get criticized. And I said to the press, I went home. My wife said, oh, how was it? She watched it on television. She said, was the crowd big? I said, what do you mean? It's true. Because she said they had the camera on your face the entire time. They never panned the crowd. They never. No, they're terrible. They're terrible. So, no, they're terrible. The media is terrible. I'm going to go into a whole thing. But, no, they're terrible. Pan. Look, they won't turn the camera, see? They won't turn it. And they won't put this part on because they never put it on because, you know, but why don't you pan the cameras? You know, they don't want to do that. Terrible. Terrible. They don't do it. Look, they don't move. But my wife tells me, she said, so how was the crowd in Oklahoma? I said, it was amazing. I said, but I thought you watched. Yeah, I did, but they never showed how many people were there. And then the reporter got up. Donald Trump was here. He made a speech in Oklahoma. And left. I said every record. He was here. He made a speech. Yeah, he's a little controversial. He's a little controversial. They don't say it. They're really dishonest people. Same thing in Dallas. You know, I went to Dallas, and they treated me fairly good there. But we had a full place, plus the floor was full. And Mark Cuban called me up, who's a good guy, and he said, and he owns the Mavericks, and he said, I'd love you to use the place. I said, when? Wednesday. I said, what's today? It was like Thursday when he called. I said, how many seats? He said, we have 20,000 seats. But then we have 20,000 plus the floor. So we have the floor filled up. We have the place in a few days. After the first day, I think they sold either 12 or 15 or something like that thousand the first day. And it was a holiday. And I got there, it was incredible. But they don't really want to, they want to belittle. I'll tell you a great story. So today, in one of the big newspapers, New York Times, we've never done better. We're hotter than ever. We just had a poll, the Morning Consult came out. I think we're either 32 or 35%. That's massive. Remember this. Remember this. Well, the Times, I mean, it's disgusting. And the reporter that did the story, who's done other stories that are totally inaccurate, calls up my people, said, oh, I want to meet with Mr. Trump. I want to meet. Never even called me. Never even spoke to me. Never even spoke to me. So they did a story. Is he waning? Now, I just won, listen to this. So yesterday morning, before the story was, I won the state of Florida. I was at 28 or 29. Now think of this. The governor of the state, Bush, Former. No. Hey, honestly, and Rubio, the senator. Well, Rubio was the Gang of Eight. That was the one that everybody come in, don't worry about it. You know, immigration, very weak on immigration. And Bush weak on immigration. Bush is in favor of Common Core, okay? So that means your children, right? That means your children are going to be educated by the bureaucrats in Washington. I don't think so. I don't think so. So this reporter calls up my people. I have great people. Calls up Hope. Oh, I'd love to speak to Mr. Trump. Okay, we'll work it out. I'd love to speak to him. When can we speak? We'll work it out. So she writes this horrible story. And she said, she didn't say that we had 24 million people at the debate, the biggest audience in the history of CNN. Then Fox had the biggest audience in cable, I think they said, right? Right? And by the way, it got bigger. That was the original, that's called preliminary numbers. I know so much from The Apprentice. Oh, was I the greatest of all ratings? Was I the greatest? You know, I have a big chunk of The Apprentice. I get a lot of the profits from The Apprentice. So, and you can always tell the enemies. I left. The head of Comcast, who's an amazing guy, Steve Burke, he came up to see me, along with the head of reality television for NBC, Paul Telegney. And they come up to my office. This is like 6, 7 months ago. And they said, we want you to extend. We want you. We'll do anything. We want you to extend. I mean, Steve Burke doesn't do that. He's one of the biggest executives. Comcast owns NBC. And he's fantastic. So I said, Steve, you know, honestly, I think I'm going to run. I want to make our country great again. I think we're going to run. I think. And he said, well, I don't know, but just in case. So they have their upfronts. That's a big deal. You know, usually at the biggest place in Manhattan, it's a big deal. And they announced their fall schedule. So they announce that The Apprentice is going to be extended with Donald Trump. So I've done 14 seasons. It's going to be season 15, and they even want to go beyond that. I say, but I told you I'm probably going to run. You can't do that because if you run, they have stupid laws. It's called equal time. So that if I do The Apprentice, as an example, you have to let other people, like let's say Lindsey Graham, do a 2-hour show on television. I don't think so, right? So you have equal time. So you're precluded. Essentially, you're precluded from it. So what happened is I said, no. Well, we're going to take a chance because we're. So they announce it. They sell all the advertising. It's one of the easiest shows on television to sell. Big success, even after all these years. 12 years, 15 copies. Think of it. And now they extend. And I'm honored. And I get a call from Mark Burnett. He said, I can't believe it. You're turning down an extension. Nobody turns down an extension. I turned down an extension. I'm giving up a lot, believe me, to do this. I'm giving up a lot. And I'm on top of it, I'm self-funding my own campaign. I'm putting up my own money. I'm the only one. So it's amazing, the response. I mean, people love that. You know, because all these guys are totally controlled by the special interests and the lobbyists. Believe me. I've been there. I was the one that used to give all the money. Now, all of a sudden, I went like this. So with The Apprentice, so I turn it down, and we get a story from a very dishonest paper. Donald Trump gets fired from NBC, by NBC. Now, think of it. Now, they know it's not true. And in fact, I get a big chunk of the show. You know, I created it with Mark Burnett. And so they fired. And they said, Trump gets fired by NBC. And they know it's not true. So they call up. They say, yeah, we knew, but it just sounds better. It plays better, does it? Oh, great. They're such dirty, rotten liars. It's disgusting. So I gave up The Apprentice. And then I said, you know, we had to put down in filing certified numbers. And they said, oh, well, maybe Trump won't run because that's a big thing. So he'll never announce. So I announced. Then they say, he'll never do Form A. Form A is like where you sign your life away. Phil would never do it. He would never do it. Too smart. You would never do this, Phil, believe me. You should. That's the kind of guy we need, but he's not going to do it. He's happy. Got a great family, got a great hotel, got lots of great things. But so they'll say he'll never file Form A. I file Form A. Then they say, oh, but he'll never file his financials because maybe he's not as rich as people think, okay? So I filed. By the way, I was one of the few that filed in time, and I had almost 100 pages. These guys have one page. You know, I work for some company. No, it's true. And they were late. They needed extensions, and I filed on time. I wanted to file on time. I actually filed ahead of schedule. You were entitled to 2 45-day extensions automatically. And I just filed. And they found out that my company, and Phil would know because he knows my company, is much bigger, much stronger, much better, much richer than they ever thought possible. They couldn't believe it. So that's gone now. So what I did is I did this filing. And from the day I've done this, and my wife said to me, it's very interesting, and Ivanka. Has anyone ever heard of Ivanka? Yes? Right? And Melania. They're two great women. And you watch, they're going to come out, they're going to start campaigning pretty soon, and they're going to be great. And they believe so much and so strongly the women's health issues that Bush, by the way, didn't want. I saw that. He didn't want to fund them. And Hillary, puts on the phone, oh, how dare he talk about this. She said, she acted indignant. Can you imagine? Here's a woman cheating the United States government for years with her emails. I mean, they gave Petraeus a criminal record. He's got a criminal record now. They destroyed 5 other people for doing about 1/10 of what she did. And I don't know. I think she's going to get away with it. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? No, I think she's going to get away with it. They destroyed Petraeus, General Petraeus, good guy. They destroyed his life. What he did is 2% of what she did. So you tell me it's fair. But I look forward to running against her because, frankly, that is going to be such a big issue. Believe me. It's going to be such a big issue. And don't forget, she will fight very hard because she has to win. Because the statute of limitations is 6 years. Do you know what that means? No, do you know what that means? There's some guy up there, he's probably a lawyer, he's laughing like hell. No, if a Republican gets in, it's got to be fair. But if a Republican gets in, they're going to have to look at that. 6 years. So she's fighting for her life. And I think the Democrats are going to leave her alone because it's a corrupt system. We have a corrupt system. And I think they're going to leave her alone. But if a Republican gets in, I don't say that she's guilty. They have to check. But if a Republican gets in, we have a 6-year statute of limitations. And I guarantee at least there'll be a fair investigation. They're going to look. So she's really fighting. So she's really fighting for her life in a sense. And she's gotten, it's very interesting, in the same day, she said, I don't like Donald Trump's tone. His tone, I don't like his tone. And Bush said the same thing. And Rubio said it too. They said, I don't like Donald Trump's tone. And I say, wait a minute, we need a tough tone, don't we? Isn't it tired? Aren't we tired? We're tired of these weak, pathetic, sad people that don't have a clue, that won't do anything. We are going to make the country better than it's ever been before. We have a chance to do that. So they said, we don't like Mr. Trump's tone. They want to be low-key. Let's fall asleep. And China, you ever see China's tone? They walk through the door. Believe me, I deal with them. They don't talk about, oh, isn't it a beautiful day, Mr. Trump? The weather's beautiful. The sky is so beautiful. Look, Mr. Trump, outside it. It's all business. We want to extend lease. Right? There's no games, right? There's no games. There's no small talk. There's no small talk. There's no, how's the weather outside? Oh, it's raining. Oh, isn't that too bad? I'll have to call my wife. It's all business with these people. And they hit you in waves. When I deal with China, and I love China. I love the people. They're great. I love the Mexican people. They're great. But I deal with China, and they walk in with waves of people, smart people. I have so many. He says, build the wall. We'll build the wall. Don't worry. And Mexico's going to pay. Don't worry. We'll build the wall. But no, I want people in, but they have to come in legally. We know that. Okay. But I will tell you, China, they come in and they negotiate, and you're sitting there by yourself, and you got like 25 people across the table. And every one of them's a genius. But if you're good, you can take it. You can do deals that are unbelievable. So I asked my people last week, I said, go back and tell me, what is the trade imbalance with China? And I was surprised, because it was I thought it was big, but I didn't know it was this big. It's almost $400 billion a year. Think of it. Essentially, that means we're losing $400 billion. Now, it's worse than that, because They've devalued their currency, so they're taking our jobs, they're taking our base, they're taking our manufacturing. And then, on top of it, we owe them, think of this one. You know, China is our largest creditor along with Japan. They're actually exactly the same. We owe each of them $1.5 trillion. So they steal our jobs. They steal our jobs. They take our money. We owe them money. How do you figure that one? Not too good, right? All these geniuses in the front. Not too good. I call it a magic act. It's incredible. They take our money and we owe them money. It never ends. But we owe them $1.5 trillion. We owe total $19 trillion. We owe Japan $1.5 trillion. Then I said, so I was in Los Angeles 3 weeks ago. I saw the biggest ships I've ever seen, the biggest. And cars are pouring out of these ships. They're from Japan, like the Long Island Expressway. I never saw cars go so fast. They're going like 50 miles an hour off a ramp. Shung, shung, shung. It's almost like the ramp. I don't know if you saw it last week. It was a picture in one of the papers. The ramp they built, they have a wall that's this big, Great Wall, between the borders. Okay, they have a wall. And they built a ramp. Rather than tear down the wall was so small they didn't have to bother tearing it down. They built a ramp and they have trucks going back and forth over the ramp. Nobody's doing anything. I mean, how stupid are we? How stupid. But China, so we have a imbalance with them, almost $400 billion a year. Now, if that's the number, you know it's worse than that, right? Because when the government gives you numbers, like they say 5.3% unemployment, the number's probably 32%. I saw one report done by a pretty credible guy saying our unemployment rate is 42%. Because when you add back the 100 million people, you're right up to those numbers. But add back half of the 100. So we have a 20%, 25% unemployment rate. But this was done by politicians so that they look good. Because if you stop looking for a job, statistically, you are considered that you have a job. So then they say, oh, unemployment is down. We're down to 5.3. We're not down. Nobody has jobs. I mean, I wouldn't have caught on, to be honest, I wouldn't have caught on leading every poll. I wouldn't have been catching on, I think, if the economy were real. It's not a real economy. It's a phony set of numbers. They cooked the books. You ever hear the expression? Right? They cooked the books. The politicians cooked the books. So what happens is I get the reports yesterday, and the reports are amazing. I love polls. And somebody said, he talks about polls and the other people don't. That's because I'm winning. The other people are losing. It's true. No, I saw it on television. No, I saw it last night on television. Now, there may be a time when I stop talking about polls. If I'm number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 12, some of these guys have nothing. They have 0. Out of, 20,000 people, they didn't get 1 vote. They have 0. How do you do that? To me, that's more impressive than leading. You want to know the truth. No, it's true. So they said, I saw on television tonight, they said, oh, he talked about, because I was in Iowa yesterday. It was amazing, packed, overflow crowd, amazing people. Like you, they want to see the country be strong, and they want to see our country. Amazing people. So I was talking about the polls, and one of the reporters who's actually here today, one of those live people, and barely alive. No, they said on television, Mr. Trump talked about the polls. Well, the polls just came out. And I thought to myself, maybe I do talk about polls too much. And then I realized I've been leading since I came out. And Melania, my wife, and my daughter said, Dad, if you ever run, you're going to win. And I said, why do you say that? She said, because nobody thinks you're running. And if they poll you, nobody's going to give you. When they poll you, before I announced and before I signed my life away, because that's what you do. You sign your life away. It takes guts to run for office. Especially if you're not a politician. I never did this before, folks. That's why nobody understands what's going on. These guys, I have governors, senators, these guys are all, and so here's what happens. So Florida winning big, Florida, 28, 29%. Pennsylvania, big, great, important state. Anybody from Pennsylvania? We love Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania. I'm there a lot. Pennsylvania, I'm leading big. Ohio. So the poll comes out, and it's Quinnipiac, which is a great company, great polling company, the real deal. And they just hate it. And I'm leading Ohio, And I'm beating a very nice guy and a good governor named Kasich by a lot. Kasich is a good governor. He's a good guy. And he's, I'm leading by a lot. And people saying, what's going on? What's going on? Then they have a poll come out, OAN, which is a great poll. And I have 35%. 35%. 35. So we get, as I said, highest ratings in Fox, highest ratings in the history of CNN for these debates. The highest ratings. And by the way, all the polls, then they poll everything. I love these things. They poll who won the debate. Every single poll, Time Magazine, Drudge, Slate, places I never even heard of. Everyone said Trump. But then I turn on the television, oh, Donald had a bad night tonight. I'm saying, I thought I won. I thought I won. And then they said, well, first of all, just to show you. So CNN, I like CNN. They're good guys. I think Jeff Zucker's a good guy. I think Roger Ailes is great from Fox. Great guy. But I tell you, I go home and I watch it. I say, I'm going to watch myself on television. Who wouldn't do it? Who wouldn't do it, right? We have to do it. So I say, oh, that was good. Then I see the pundits coming. These highly paid guys that don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. And they say that they didn't like it. I was good in the first debate, but then they said, here's the beauty. For 28 minutes, I didn't say anything at the end. And then he faded in the end. I wasn't asked any questions. I wanted to say, they're so dishonest. So here's what happened. So for the first 2 hours, everything was me. It was either a question to me, right? These guys are honorable guys, even though they all have suits. Stand up and take a bow. They're rich guys. These guys are loaded. Look, that's why they're in the first row. That's why they're... Of course, I always heard in the theater, fourth row is the best. We're going to teach you guys. Fourth row is actually. But so they went out, and they do this thing on television, and they hit me. And I'm saying, I can't understand it. My daughter comes up. She says, Dad, every single polling organization you won. They all say you won. And I just think, but on the CNN debate, it was 2 hours, right? A 2-hour debate. Now, they were supposed to get, no, it was 2 hours, and then they made it 3 hours. No, it was a 2-hour debate when I got there. When I got there. Don't ruin my story. No, it was a 2-hour debate. And then about a day and a half or 2 days before, what happened is it was in Variety, it was in Hollywood Reporter, which is a terrific group. They did a nice cover story on me. I like them. Janice. But they did a story about rates. They took the rates from, in the case of Fox, I think in the case of CNN, from $4,000 for probably a 30-second ad to $200,000. So it was a 4,000% increase. Now Phil Ruffin's really perking up when he is. That's your language, right? So they went from $4,000 to $200,000, and they sold out. So I get there, and I didn't know this because Corey and Hope and all my people, they didn't tell me this. They said it's a 3-hour debate. Now the room, the Reagan Library, nice place, but it wasn't meant for that many people, and it was about 100 degrees in there. It was pretty hot. I didn't care. But you had a couple of people on that stage that was seriously, they were melting. Right? They were melting. It was actually good for them, and it was actually good. They went home, they lost 10 pounds. It's probably good. But they go out, and I get there, and I hear it's now a 3-hour debate. I said, that's a long time. I don't care about standing for 3 hours. I really have no problem. I was always a good athlete. But I don't have a problem. But you know what? Who the hell wants to watch a 3-hour? Gone with the Wind is 3 hours, right? Gone with the... But they did it just to make money. Just to make money. So the first question was mine. Second question was mine. Third question. Fourth question was to another guy. Mr. Trump said you're a horrible human being. Is that true? Then they go, Ms. Farina, Mr. Trump doesn't like your face. What do you say? What do you say? How do you respond? Well, the world will watch. And then they say, oh, she debated so brilliantly. Give me a break. No, the entire thing was either a question to me or a question to the other candidates having to do with me. And I think they came out specifically 48%. Then in the third hour, people started getting, it got to be too obvious, because I am a ratings machine, okay? It got to be too obvious. So for 28 minutes, they didn't ask me a question. So here's the press. He didn't do well in the final 28 hours. It's almost like he disappeared. They didn't ask me any questions, okay? It's so dishonest. So we have fun with it. We have fun with it. But I have fun what I'm doing, and I'll tell you what, we're making an impact like I never thought possible. Like I never thought possible. I've seen great dishonesty in other ways, too. Politics, you know, I always thought that real estate guys in New York and elsewhere are pretty tough cookies, right? A lot of real estate guys in the room, I guess. But I always thought real estate guys are tough. Politics is a much dirtier business. So I get a call. This guy from Club for Growth. I never even heard of it. But my people said, oh, see it, Club for Growth. What is Club for Growth? You know what it is? They're growing the wallet in their pocket. That's what it is. So Club for Growth, supposedly a conservative outfit. So guy wants to see me. So he comes up to my office. We have a perfectly nice talk. He's telling me about Club for Growth, which is nice. And that was the end of it. He then sends me a letter, asks me if I'd make a $1 million contribution. Now think of it. A $1 million. I said, $1 million? You know, I may be rich, but we're not stupid, right? $1 million? $1 million. So he wants $1 million in a letter. He was stupid enough to put it in a letter. And he asked me for $1 million. We told him, obviously, how many in the room would say, oh, good, he was up in my office for a half hour or whatever it was, let's give him $1 million. I just can't do that. I can't do it. So what happens is we say very politely no, and we figure that's the end. All of a sudden, he comes out, has a news conference, goes vicious against me. I'm not a conservative. I'm not this. I'm not that. I believe in eminent domain, which I don't believe. I think sometimes the city has to use it to build a roadway, right? You know, every once in a while, you have to build a road, or you have to build a plant that's going to employ 5,000 people or something. I don't love it, but I mean, sometimes you need it. You wouldn't have any roads. You wouldn't have any economics. I mean, sometimes you need it. And they did this ad. The good news was it had no impact because they took the pictures were so beautiful. I want to find where did they get them. I was like 20 years younger. I looked so handsome. I never knew I was that good looking. It's true. I looked so good. So they spent $2 million or $1 million on advertisements, all because I turned them down. That shows you how dishonest politics is, though. Here they are, they come up, Club for Growth. I'll never forget the experience because I was shocked. My people came in, oh, Club for Growth just had a news conference. They absolutely lambasted you. Oh, they also said, he raises taxes. I just came out with a tax bill where I'm lowering far more than anybody else. In fact, so much so that the Wall Street Journal, which was bought for $5 billion, and is now worth $500 million, but they'll criticize me. They did an editorial, it's too much. Now you tell me, you buy something for $5 billion, it's now worth $500 million, maybe not that, and maybe a couple of bucks more. And then they write these nasty editorials about me. Can you believe this? Can you believe it? So I get criticized. But you know, one of the things I was criticized for is my tax break is too big. They think it's too big. And what I'm doing is taking care of the middle class. And frankly, because we've lost the middle class. We've lost them. So then they give you bad editorials all the time. And here's the good news. I've had the worst editorials in the Wall Street Journal. I have never heard one person say, gee, that was a bad edit. I don't think anybody cares. Do they read these things or not? I get these editorials. I say, oh, that's devastating. And then, but they're criticizing also, assuming, other things. Well, there's a personal dislike, has to be their personal dislike. But the amount of the tax reduction is massive. And it's going to put people to work. And people are going to be energized. And the middle class is going to come back. We have, and I put them in the same category because people have forgotten about the middle class in this country, and that's what built middle-income people. That's what built the country. And you know who else they've forgotten about big time? Maybe even worse, the veterans. They've forgotten the veterans. They have totally forgotten the veterans. And I'll tell you what, if I get elected, everyone says, when? Don't say if, but look, I'm running against, it was 17. No, it was 17. I seem to have one great power. If I could sell it, I'd be 100 times richer than I am. And I'm rich, you know. I'd be 100. And you know what the power is? So far, maybe I have to knock on wood, but so far, when people attack me, they get creamed. They go down. It's true. So I get attacked by Rick Perry, governor of Texas, right? He attacks me viciously. He was a friend of mine. I got along with him great. Now I'm leading from the time, practically from the time I got in. I think it's almost 3 months now. They say Michelle Bachmann, well, she led for a week. They say Herman Cain, great guy, but he led for a week. They say, well, they were there, but I'm there for 3 months. They haven't been like 3 months, right? It's a long time. It's a long time. But you get never. Stand up and say, stand up, say it. You're right. Do we love this guy? We love him. But if I win, I like that too. But again, you know what? When puts too much pressure on you. I always say to people, they say, how do you react? Pressure is very interesting because I've seen people that are really smart, they don't make it. I've seen people that are great athletes, they don't make it. They put unforced pressure on themselves. If I say if, there's much less pressure. Do you understand? Not when. Right? Am I right? You know, hey, I got a call from one of the biggest reporters, who actually I do have great respect for, one of the biggest. And I don't know him at all. And he's from a major newspaper, whose name I already mentioned. And he said to me, could I ask you one question? One, how does it feel? I said, how does what feel? He said, you've done something that nobody else has ever done. He said, it's very interesting. I think I'm on 14 covers. I'm on more covers than any supermodel in history. Can you believe it? No, can you believe it? I mean, every magazine, People, by the way, People magazine, I love the People. I didn't love the picture. I don't know. They did something with my nose. They played around. It's true. I don't understand. I loved People magazine. I love the people of People magazine. The story was nice, but I didn't like what they did. They screwed around with, I said, just leave me alone. But Melania looked good, Barron looked good, I looked like hell. I have a feeling maybe they picked the picture. They might have picked it. I don't know. But I've been on, there it is. Come here. Let me have that. Come here. So let me say this. Where are you from?
I'm from Colombia.
Colombia.
I'm Hispanic.
And is this a setup? Did I ever meet you before? Huh?
I'm Hispanic and I vote for Mr. Trump. We vote for Mr. Trump. Yes, Mr. Trump. We love you. We love you. All the way to the White House.
I swear to you, I think she's totally beautiful and great. I never met her before, I swear. This all started with a People magazine. So here's the story. So I love the story. They couldn't have been nicer. Nice story, right? Couldn't be nicer. But I don't know what happened. They played with my nose. I don't want touching. I don't want touching. So I'm looking. Now you'll tell me. How's my nose? Right? That's fine, right?
It's beautiful and perfect.
Says it's I have a wart on the end of my nose. Can you believe it? And I said, oh my, I don't have, look, it's terrible. But that's okay, because they meant it well. I think they wanted to make me look like Cary Grant. Do we remember Cary Grant? And I've always wanted to look like Cary Grant. But anyway, you are beautiful. Will you make sure she doesn't fall? Come here. Thank you very much. Crazy. You're beautiful. Thank you, darling.
Mr. Trump.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you. Be careful. That was great. That's so great. Never met her before. She's amazing. She is amazing. Thank you, hon. Appreciate it. But that's my relationship with Hispanics. That's why when they did the poll in the state, in Nevada, and I led and nobody believes it, but that's my relationship. And, you know, in New York, we have a Hispanic station, and the MC of the station's a good guy. I don't know him, but I watched him interviewed on television, and he goes, he's talking about Trump. What about Trump? How bad is Trump? Is he? Well, he said, I don't know. Every viewer that calls in, they all love him. They love him, all Hispanic. They love Trump because they know I'm going to do what's the right thing. I love the Hispanic people. I employ thousands of them, and they know I'm going to do what's right. So, a couple of more things. I want to just talk about two things. So we have the Second Amendment, and they want to take your guns away. And we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen, and it's not going to happen. And I just put a policy paper. You know, the press wants me to put policy papers because at the beginning they say, we agree he's leading in the polls, but he can't go much longer because he doesn't put policy papers out. You know, I guarantee my IQ is much higher than any of these people. Like my uncle was one of the great professors at MIT. I mean, believe me, if it's good genes, we believe in genes, right? We're allowed to say that. So anyway, but I don't put policy. So I decided I'll put policy. So I put policy out on tax. I put policy out on immigration. I put policy out on the Second Amendment, which is basically you are allowed to protect yourself, okay? You read it. And I said, they said, don't you think it's important to start talking about policy? I said, I have. I said, it's only important for you. It's not important for the people because they know I'm going to do the right thing and they know my stance. And they know my stance. But now we're keeping the press happy. They're all saying, oh, he's actually very policy-oriented because I put in a 14-page paper. But in the end, it's all very simple. And I will say this. I love being here with you. I loved yesterday my trip to Iowa. I loved the other day my trip to, I was in New Hampshire. I was in South Carolina. I am all the time. Somebody said, are you doing deals? A deal came over my desk last week because I'm running a business, but more and more I'm giving it to my kids to run, and they're good. And I have great executives because I can't be doing this all the time, right? But I have to because we want to win. We want to win. And deals come across my desk that are great deals, and I'd say, I don't want it. I don't want to focus on a deal. It's just not important anymore. You know, it's not important to me anymore. What's important is turning our country around. It's so important. What's important to me is, and I've been saying it over the last couple of weeks, and I've never said it much before that. I can't even remember having said it before that. So one of the networks today said, I've trademarked the expression, make America great again. Can you imagine? Who else is sick enough to trademark? Who would think of it? Because I had a couple of candidates using it. They see I go and I say, make America great again. Everyone stands there, go crazy. So they started using it, but the response isn't the same. It's, oh, great. Because they don't believe them. They're politicians. They're politicians. And you know, I was going to tell you before that, so all these guys that came out, they're all friends of mine, but then they come out viciously against me. Viciously. It's a horrible business, actually. The profession, whatever the hell you call it. It's horrible. So Perry came out, and he went from 5 to 0, and he left. Walker, he was a friend of mine. He was up in my office a year ago, gave me a plaque because I supported him. The professionals, you support somebody, you get a plaque, okay? I get a lot of plaques. Bing, you know what I do? I use them to put pictures of my family in there. But he came up, and he gave me a plaque, and he thanked me very much. And he was so nice. And then one of his guys came out and said bad things about me. Like I said, whoa, is that really? Yeah, he said bad. Trump's bad, he's a bad guy. I said, oh, thank you. And then I hit Walker very hard. And he was supposed to win. Do you remember? He was favored to win. They said governor of Wisconsin, but, well, I gave the real numbers. And I saw a magazine. It was a puff piece on him, but in one paragraph it said, big deficits, big strife, schools are in trouble, roads are in trouble. I said, I didn't know this. I thought it was all good. So I just gave those facts in Iowa, standing in Iowa, big news conference, and he got wiped out, and then he left. And when he left, it was nasty. He said, everybody has to leave and leave one person to take on Trump. We've got to beat Trump. Can you believe that? I just want to do the right thing. And then we have, no, think of it. And then we have Lindsey Graham. No. He was always nice. He called me, he wanted a reference on something, and then he wanted campaign contributions. And he left me his number. He gave me his phone number, his cell number. And this was like 3 years ago. It's true. And I don't know why. I found it. I just have a whole pile of junk. I call that junk, see? That's junk, stuff that will never be used again. And all of a sudden, I found his phone number, and I had a news conference, and I held up his number. Here it is. And they said, read it out. Probably the press said that, because, you know, the press loves this. I read it out. And then I read it out a second time, and it destroyed. His phone blew up. It blew up. It was all over town. But he was a nice guy, and he wanted contributions, and he wanted support and all that, and that was fine. And, you know, my previous life, you know, I have 2 lives, right? I have previous life. I have my non-politician, the last little while politician. But I gave him a hard time. He went from 3, I only counter, you know, I'm a counterpuncher. I don't start these things. Everyone says he's a bad person, he's mean. I'm not mean. I get hit by these people. So he goes out, hit me right with that beautiful red hair. Look at her, stand up with that hair. Oh, I wish I had that hair. Looks good. Okay. So he hits me really hard. He's at like 2 or 3%. And I'm in the 20s and 30s. And he hits the hell out of me. I said, wow, the guy wanted like a campaign. He was a nice guy. What happened? He goes down, he's at 0. Now they asked him the other day, will you leave? I will never leave. I will fight. Why not? Just leave. It's not working. Oh, and then they have the poll in South Carolina. Now he's the senator from South Carolina. And I'm at 29 or 32, I think, something like that. And he's at 3, right? So something's wrong. He's probably not going to run for office again. Honestly, I think these guys have been mortally wounded. I don't even think they can go back into that career. And then we have Rand Paul. Rand Paul. But he was another one. He was expected to win. And then he goes around before the last debate, and he's telling everybody, I'm going to attack Trump. He's not a true conservative. People are saying, yeah, but I like his ideas. I mean, you know, it's like, and I am. I'm a conservative guy. And he's vicious, and he's a vicious guy. He's a vicious little guy. I say, Rand, easy, cool it, chill, don't just take it easy. But he's at news conferences telling everybody what a bad guy. Now, he was another one. He was expected to win. Now, in the meantime, he's running in Kentucky, and he's running here. And I have great respect for the people of Kentucky. I love that state. I love the people. But what are they, second-class citizens? Why is he running here and running there? I mean, pick your place. But he's running here, running there. So, and I told that, and I think it's unfair for the people of Kentucky. I don't know. How do you do that? How do you do it? So he starts getting really, really vicious. I mean, every time I see him, the things he was saying, I won't even say them because, I'll say them. No, I won't even say them. So what happens is, then he said, I will get him in the debate. I mean, you all, am I right? Is this right? I'm going to get him in the debate. I'm going to go after him. He's not going to have a chance. I'm going to do numbers on him that are unbelievable. So my first question, I attacked him. And he didn't, after that, he was perfectly nice. He didn't, in fact, he backed me up twice, right? He backed me up. He was perfectly nice. So this is sort of a crazy thing. Jeb Bush, he was doing great. No? Well, he's a nice guy, but he was doing great. But I immediately, you know, when I think of the president, I think of somebody, you need somebody with tremendous drive, tremendous energy, and really up here, big league, right? And I didn't see the fire in Jeb. Stand up. Stand up. What was the expression? Low energy, he said. I don't know what, you know, sometimes you'll say something about somebody and it sticks, it just like sticks. Sometimes you'll say, like I called Rubio a lightweight. I don't know, that might stick, it might not stick, I don't know. To me, water, yeah, water. Shh. Remember the response on live television to the president's State of the Union speech? So they pick him because he's a young rising star. And he's talking, and he's sweating. And I'm watching, I'm saying, is he gonna be okay? You know? And he's sweating. And he keeps sweating. And the water's pouring down all over. And finally he goes. And I said, was that live television? But I called him a lightweight. And, you know, he may be a nice guy. I really don't know him. I really don't. But, you know, he attacked me viciously. And Bush attacked me viciously, as vicious as he could be, which isn't really that vicious because he's a nice person. And I said, he's a low-energy individual. And somehow that one stuck. I don't know if lightweight is going to stick with Rubio. Then, you know, then I attacked Carly's record because her record running a business is a disaster. She was named to the CEO Hall of Fame as one of the worst in the history of the country. Right? But she's got that good pitter-patter, like a machine gun. But I said, if you listen for 10 minutes, you get a headache. You get a headache. Oh. You get a headache. And then it's funny. Boy, the press loves her. They love her. I see these polls where I'm at 29, she's at 6, and they're saying, here's the headline, Carly is surging. I'm at 29. Surging. I mean, honestly, she's surging. And Ben I like, because Ben said something very nasty to me. I do, I like him. He said something really nasty. Remember about my faith. I'm a religious person. I'm Protestant. Can you believe it? I'm Protestant. I'm Presbyterian. I'm religious. And Ben hit me in my faith. And I was all set to go after him. And then he took it back. And I can't. I can't do that. He took it back. I was all set. I was disappointed that he took it back. I didn't want him to take it back. Bill, I didn't want him to take it back. I was all set to go. And I couldn't do it because he stood up and he said, no, the press tricked me into saying something that I didn't mean, and I'm taking it back. And I said, that's cool. That's really nice. I thought it was nice. Please say something bad about me, Ben. Please. In fact, yesterday I stuck up for him because the press killed him. You know, the press was saying, he made a statement essentially that if there were some maniac over there shooting people, he'd charge. Okay. They said, oh, that's terrible, that's disrespectful to the people that were killed. And I didn't see it that way. And I said, I think he was treated unfairly by the press. And it became a big story that I stuck up. So I actually stuck up for him. It's the first time I've ever done that. You know, I don't do that. I don't do that. So I just want to tell you, we're going to bring jobs back to this country. We're going to have Carl Icahn, one of the great business people of all time. Phil can tell you. We're going to have Phil. We're going to have the smartest, the best negotiators in the world, and I know most of them, and believe me, I know people you never heard of who are better than the ones that you did hear of. We're going to have people, it's not going to be because they gave me campaign contributions, because I turned down millions. I feel so foolish. I feel so foolish. You know, my whole thing in life has been accumulation, right? Now these guys come up. One guy wants to give $5 million to my campaign. He's a lobbyist. Wants to give a fortune. I don't want it. I feel like a jerk. I said, no. No. And I go like this. No, I do it very weakly. You know, I was in Iowa. I asked a question. I said, let me ask you a question. Supposing I'm self-funding my campaign, other than the little tiny ones where they send in, you know, women send in, we had a woman, $7.59. What do you do? How can you send the money back? First of all, it's too expensive to send it back. It costs you more money to send it back. But we have these little fun, and it adds up. It's, you know, it's cute. It's beautiful. They feel invested in your campaign. If you wrote them back a letter, I'm sorry, I don't want your money. It's nasty. But I don't want money. I don't want the big money. I don't want these guys giving me $5 million, $2 million, $3 million. I don't want it. So I turn them down, and it's just so different from what I really am. And I was in Iowa, and I said to the people, we had a packed house. I said, so look, I don't feel good about turning all these people down. I actually said, I feel like a schmuck, okay? You know that. How many Jewish people are in this room, right? Okay, you know, am I right? Stand up, am I right? I feel like, what am I doing? I'm turning down millions and millions of dollars. I'm taking nothing. And I asked the audience, I said, okay, look, how about if I take the money, but I swear to you I won't do anything for these people? And you know what they did? They stood up and they went crazy. They hated it. I said, I promise you, and here was the thing, I promise you, let me take millions of dollars from these people. I will not give them any favors. I will go out of my way not to give them favors. And everybody stood up and they went crazy. Don't do it. So maybe it means something. I'll tell you what, if I lose, I was stupid. Honestly. No, really. because I don't think I get enough credit for self-funding. Because I'm putting, I will be putting, as time goes by. So far, I've run such a campaign. I get so much publicity. I feel like crazy if I put an advertisement. What do I need it for, right? No, it's true. It's called, at CNN, they say, all Trump all the time. And then you put an ad in. It's like people would OD on Trump. They say, I can't take it anymore. So I've spent zero on that, zero. You'll see it in the filing, zero. But at some point, I'll do the ads. But I don't know if I get credit because I'm self-funding. I don't even know how, do people in this room know that I'm self-funding? So we're going to bring back our jobs. We're going to negotiate great trade pacts. This last trade deal is a disaster. By the way, Hillary came out, she came out. The same thing I've been saying for 5 months. I took a commercial saying the trade deal was no good. The one that they want, it's no good. 11 countries, they're ripping off the United States, they're taking our jobs, and China is going to, not part of it, they're going to come in the back door, they're going to make a great deal. They always make a great deal with us because we're stupid, okay? We're led by very stupid people. So Hillary came out against it. Now, Obama wants it. Hillary came out against the president. Be careful, Hillary, you may be indicted. Be careful. Be careful. No. That's very dangerous for her to do. I give her credit. But the reason she did is that she thinks that someday she's going to be debating me about this trade deal as one of the things. I already have the pipeline, which I love that debate, okay? Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's a lot of jobs, not going to hurt anybody. Environmentally, nothing. It's not going to have any impact. And she made a mistake, but I love that. But she changed her mind yesterday on the trade deal. You saw that. And I'm telling you, Obama is angry at her. This could be the end on the emails. This could finally be the end. She could end up like General Petraeus. Seriously. This could be the beginning of the end. But I want to run against her. I really do. I want to run against her. So I don't want to run against Bernie. It's too easy, right? Bernie? Some people say communist, some people say socialist. I don't know. I've always wanted to run against a socialist / perhaps communist, right? In this country, I don't think it plays. I don't think. But we're going to take our jobs back. We're going to make our military so strong, so powerful, that nobody is going to mess with us, and we will not have to use it, in my opinion. But nobody is going to mess with us. As part of that, we are going to make our vets the cherished people that they should be. They are cherished, special people. Our wounded warriors, our vets, they're going to be taken care of properly. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. We're going to come up with a health care program that's going to be unbelievable. Your premiums will not be rising 55% like they're doing now. We're going to terminate Obamacare. We're going to come up with a plan that's so good and works, and everybody's going to be taken care of, but we're going to come up with a plan that works. So just remember, you look at your neighbor, you look at the people that you're sitting next to, because this is more than just a group of people listening to a speech. If you came here and listened to other candidates, you'd have 10 rows in the front and you'd have a nice little chat and everybody would walk home and they'd be bored stiff and they'd say, boy, was that boring. This is a movement. This is a movement. What's going on? This is a movement. This is a movement to take our country back. This is a movement to take our country back. It's like this everywhere. I'd like to say, oh, gee, you're wonderful, you treated me so nicely, but the truth is, it's like this everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. There is a movement on in this country to take our country back. And they used to use the term silent majority, right? Well, now it wasn't politically correct to use it because I think it had to do with Nixon. Nobody really knows, but whatever. But there is no more descriptive term, and I'm bringing it back to silent majority. But let me tell you, before I tell you about silent majority, I realized as I brought it back a couple of months ago, and I was in front of a group from South Carolina that was going absolutely wild. And I said, the silent majority. And I realized the term doesn't work anymore because it's really the really loud, noisy, incredible majority. That's what it is. We're tired. We're tired. We're tired of being pushed around. We're tired of being led by stupid people. We're tired of having our negotiators give Iran $150 billion, 24-day inspection periods, self-inspection. We don't get our prisoners back. We're tired of having them approach us 2 days ago and say, we should have had our prisoners back. Used to be 3, now it's 4. Say, we want to give you 3 prisoners back, but we want 19 people from you, and we want many other things, and that should have been included in the deal. We're tired of it. We're tired of Sergeant Bergdahl, who's a traitor. He's a traitor, a no-good traitor, who should have been executed. We get Sergeant Bergdahl, and they get 5 of the biggest killers that they've wanted more than any people for years. They've been trying to get these 5 killers, and they're all now back on the battlefield. And we've got Bergdahl, and yesterday I heard he probably won't even serve any time, and 30 years ago he would have been shot. And people are tired of it. So just remember this day, because things are happening. And if it all happens, and I think it might very well, we are going to make this country great again, greater than ever before, and it's going to be something special. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Every time that I look in the mirror, all these lines in my face getting clearer. The past is gone, it went by like dusk to dawn. Isn't that the way everybody's got the dues in life to pay? Yeah, I know nobody knows where it comes and where it goes. I know that everybody says you got to lose to know how to win. Half my life's in books, written pages. Live and learn from fools and from sages. You know it's true. All the things